Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and folks, welcome to the 2025 NFL Draft. It is officially draft day. When the clock strikes 5 p.m. Pacific time, the Tennessee Titans will be on the clock, but we have some business to take care of first because yesterday we did our first round mock draft, predicted every single pick 1 to 32 on the channel. You can go and check that out. But today we are giving our 49ers final 7-round 2025 NFL mock draft, trying to predict what the Niners will do with their first round pick all the way down to their 7th round pick. Want to ask you to like, share, subscribe, leave that review. Also, tell me down below who you think San Francisco should take with the 11th overall pick in this year's first round. Hopefully, we can get things right as we see later on in the day when the Niners are actually on the clock at number 11 overall. But I want to say, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, give us that 5-star audio podcast review, and let's dive into the final San Francisco 49ers 2025 7-round mock draft right here on 49ers Access. As you can see behind me, it's not the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator. Going to change things up a little bit as we enter into draft day on Thursday. We are going to use the stick to the model draft simulator. It's one I've kind of grown used to over the last few weeks, but we love PFF. They do great work over there. But today, I think stick to the model gives us a more realistic take of what could happen throughout the weekend in this year's draft. But let's kick things off with the Tennessee Titans at pick number 1. I think we all know who this is going to be, and we're hoping the mock draft can do us a service here and tell us at number 1 overall, the Titans pick Cam Ward out of Miami. No shock there. And now the San Francisco 49ers are on the clock at pick number 11 in this year's first round. A ton of talent on the board currently for San Francisco. Tyler Warren, Tedro McMillan, Mike Green, Shamar Stewart, Jihad Campbell. A lot of great picks are still, or prospects are on the board for San Francisco. Jalen Walker had gone via a trade up with the Ravens. I don't see that happening, albeit that's the Panthers pick, so I can see that happening on Thursday night. But overall, the prospects are in the right place, if you will, in this mock draft simulator. And I think there is a clear answer to who San Francisco picks at number 11 in this year's draft. John Lynch hinted towards it. And funny enough, it is the exact player we took in last week's 3.5 mock draft. That is edge rusher out of Georgia, Mykel Williams, 6'5", 265 pounds. He can play inside. He can play outside. 30 pressures, 6 sacks at Georgia this past season, and 11.6 pass rush win rate. He has an insane arm length, 34 3/8 inches for arm length. A very violent player, one of the best run defending edge position players in this year's draft class. Very strong, an excellent anchor. He will stack and shed. The only big problem with him is there really isn't much when it comes to a pass rushing plan. So you're getting a very sturdy player, a stout player, a strong SOB, if you will, at number 11. And I think a player that San Francisco really values, again, a run edge setting player for them, someone that can push the pocket, get Nick Bosa into the backfield, force quarterbacks his way. However, you're not getting really much of spin moves and swim moves. You're getting a raw pass rusher, and you're hoping at the NFL level with Robert Saleh and Chris Kosuric that something can click for him. I think he has the archetype. He has the size. He has the strength. He has the build. He has the length you want as an edge rusher at the NFL level. But again, you are banking on your coaching staff able to unlock things with Mykel Williams. The great thing about him is, though, is while you can compare him to a player like Shamar Stewart, who didn't produce at Texas A&M, Micah Williams didn't really produce at Georgia, albeit it is more than Shamar Stewart did. That Michael has shown the willingness to learn and grow. And playing in an SEC program, you're playing against NFL caliber talent every single week, and he was one of the best edge rushers in this year's class to a point of I don't really even think it's fair to compare him to Shamar Stewart. They're different players, have some similar strengths, but overall, I would be happy with Michael Williams knowing that you're not going to pick Mike Green. There's red flags there. You're not going to pick James Pierce Jr. Again, more red flags. Amongst the cleaner players on the board, Mike Williams is one of the better versions of those. Even if, say, Jalen Walker was here, I would refrain from taking him. I wouldn't take Tyler Warren. Maybe you trade back if McMillan's on the board there because the Dallas Cowboys pick behind you. You can probably get Mike Hell at pick 15 or 16. However, knowing that the Falcons want an edge rusher, the Bengals may want an edge rusher, you put yourself in danger of not getting one, and San Francisco seems pretty keen on getting an edge rusher in the first round, and even better, where Michael can play the inside and outside, so you could move him in on the interior if you value his run defense as a defensive tackle. Again, there may be some weight issues, but he is a stout and dense edge rusher. The pick is Michael Williams at pick number 11 for the San Francisco 49ers. As the draft continues, I want to remind you to go to SeatGeek.com and use our promo code 49ers Access, 49 ERS. ACCESS at SeatGeek.com, and you can save yourself $20 off your first purchase. And that brings us to pick 43 on the board for the San Francisco 49ers. You already got your edge rusher, and we're going to honestly make the first two picks the exact same two picks we saw in our 3.5 mock draft a week ago. And we're going to take defensive tackle out of Toledo, Darius Alexander. If you're not going to take Walter Nolan, and you're not going to get Mason Graham, and you're not going to get Derek Harmon, go get Darius Alexander, a player that I love. He's 6'3", 305 pounds. He's an older player. He'll be 25 as a rookie, but that didn't bother San Francisco last year, so it really shouldn't bother them this year. 34-inch arms again. Get that long wingspan paired with Mike Williams. You're going to have a hard time getting past the San Francisco defensive line if it's Bosa, if it's Darius Alexander, and if it is Mike Williams. Not going to give you a ton when it comes to a pass rusher, but again, he had a 77.8 pass rush grade and a 90.3 run defense grade, 37 pressures, 4 total sacks, and 11.8 pass rush win rate. He had 23 run stops last year at Toledo, and he had 6 batted down passes, an underrated skill set amongst defensive tackles. He also had 14 tackle for losses the last 2 seasons, and when I tell you this, he is going to be an impactful player on the interior of any defensive line he goes to on day one. He has an explosive first step, very violent hands, and accurate hands at attack when he's facing the interior offensive lineman of an opposing team. He is, again, a powerful defensive tackle. He is strong as an ox. He also has a finesse game. He'll use swim moves. He will use, these finesse moves to get to the quarterback and bring down quarterbacks and get sacks. Again, in my notes, I have an annihilator of offensive linemen. San Francisco needs that on their defensive line in a big way. I think San Francisco is likely going to take, with their first 2 picks, 2 defensive tackles, or at least with their first 2 of 3 picks, going to go defensive line twice. They kind of have to at this point in time. They don't have anybody there. And if you give me Mike Williams and Darius Alexander, you are instantly beefing up your defensive line, but also you're giving yourself a tremendous chance to stop the run in 2025. And that takes us to pick 75 in round number 3. I think the Niners, when you talk about the big gap from pick 43 to pick 75, If they have pick 175 and they have a couple more picks after that, like I pick 113, pick 120, they're going to be in a range where they may feel comfortable moving up in the draft at a certain point in time. And I think in that big gap between 75 and 43 could be a range for them. But in this case, we're not going to do that. I think actually you might find them at pick 75 saying, look, we got Micah Williams. We got Darius Alexander. We like some offensive linemen on the board here. You like Charles Grant. You like Wyatt Millum a lot. You could find yourself, you like Miles Frazier, a ton from LSU. He was in for a visit, I think, for a top 30. You could find yourself maybe trading back here at pick 75, or if you like a tackle enough, seeing the draft board, I could see them moving up for a player like Harold Fannin Jr., tight end from Bowling Green. Maybe they value a player, like a Tate Ratledge or a Marcus Bowe, offensive lineman in this year's class. Maybe a Ariante Ursary or even Jonas Savanea, who we took in our first ever mock draft this draft season. So there's plenty of tackles San Francisco could value, albeit I think at pick 75 you can get good value. And I think as the board falls here for you, Jordan Birch is there. Loved him in our first mock draft. Darian Porter's also here, cornerback from Iowa State. Femi Oladejo, who San Francisco seemingly likes a ton. Josiah Stewart's there. Ozzie Trapillo is there. So plenty of talent to go around. Demetrius Knight, maybe a Greenlaw replacement at linebacker is also there. Terrence Ferguson, tight end. Kyle Williams, Elika Manners there. Andrew Makuba, plenty of top-end talent. But I think we are going to look at what the trades may give us. Dallas wants to move up one pick, and we can get 149. I don't know how valuable that actually is for us, but we are at pick 75 here. I think there's a pretty clear answer. You go with Charles Grant out of William and Mary. I think of the tackles on the board here, he fits you better than most. He can play inside, he can play outside, and he fits that wide zone scheme they want to run out there in San Francisco. And also in this tackle class, there ain't many guys that fit that scheme. There's a lot of guys that, are bona fide tackles, and that's like two or three of them. You have your Josh Simmons, you have your Josh Connerly, you have your Kelvin Banks, who also may be a guard, but there's very few players that are legitimate tackle length. Charles Grant is one of those players where you have other guys like Wyatt Millum and other Will Campbell and Jonas Savanea, who are probably guards at the NFL level. But Charles Grant, 6'4", 310 pounds, 35-inch arms. He has the arm length you want to play tackle at the NFL level. Only allowed 10 total pressures the last two seasons, last year. So a 2.4 pressure rate. It's pretty darn good if you ask me. Only 2 quarterback hits allowed all year at William and Mary. The big question is, did he go against NFL caliber talent? The answer is probably no. But the hope is that you sit behind Colton McKivitz for a year, you sit behind Trent Williams for a year, get your body right, learn better technique, and kind of introduce yourself to the NFL at a slower rate. You may have a really good tackle of the future in Charles Grant. He can also play inside, so maybe he plays left guard for a year or right guard for a year, depending on how you view Dominic Pooney and if they want to shift things around in the future. So you're getting a guy that can play inside and outside, more versatility for them. And I think, you get his body right. He's a high-end athlete. He's an explosive athlete, but maybe you wish the anchor was better as a tackle. So again, sit for a year, get your body right, get more dense, maybe put on 15 more pounds, be 6'4", 325, and still have the athletic traits he already has. You're looking at a pretty good tackle. So you're banking on Chris Forrester getting things right. But ultimately, I think San Francisco is pretty comfortable with their offensive line this year. They like Ben Barch a lot. They like Jack Brendel enough, even though I wouldn't do that if I was them. You love Pooney. You like McKivitz, and you love Trent Williams. They need a swing tackle, and Charles Grant can give you that swing tackle ability year one behind those guys, being your tackle 3, who you hope doesn't have to play. But if he does have to play, it's hopefully later in the season, once he's gotten some growth and his weight right and his body right, where you wouldn't mind him playing weeks 14 through 18 if it meant getting McKivitz or Trent back for the playoffs. So I'm going to go with Charles Grant here. You're improving your trenches in both ways. I think it's a great pick for San Francisco. I would love that pick for them. You have your defensive tackle, you have your edge rusher. Now you get your offensive lineman who can play inside, who can play outside, and you set yourself up for a pretty good draft thus far. Again, is it perfect? Probably not, but now you set yourself up even more so here at pick 100 because I think San Francisco, and again, this draft is eerily similar to what we did in mock draft 3.5 because I thought that was our best mock draft thus far. And I would have loved the picks we took in that draft. So hard to detour me from a lot of the players we took simply because they were pretty good, if you're asking me. You maybe start to get yourself in a place where you begin conversations of, do you want to get an offensive weapon here, a wide receiver? Do you want to get, a tight end? I've seen tight end a ton on mock drafts. Gunnar Helm was one we took. Harold Bannon Jr. was one we took earlier in this year's draft process. But the more I've sat on things, San Francisco really has targeted those like day 3, round 7, round 6 picks at tight end, which those guys are more blocking tight ends, which I know you need more of. However, you have Kittle, you have Luke Farrell, you have Kyle Juszczyk, who's pretty much your tight end too for the next year or two as a fullback. I don't think they're going to draft the tight end. I don't think they'll reach for one at that. But I think at pick 100, you get really good value here at linebacker because this linebacker class is rough. And I mean rough, not in the cool dog way where I'm barking at you saying, oh, rough, rough. I'm saying, oh my God, it's sandpaper against the skin. Ouch, that hurts type of rough. Now, you can talk about Jeffrey Bassa, who I like a lot from Oregon. However, Bassa is probably a 4th or 5th round draft pick. And I think there is a gap between him and Chris Paul Jr., that being Pooh Paul from Ole Miss. He's 6'1", 222 pounds last year at Ole Miss, 85 tackles, 54 defensive stops. Again, that's plays where the runner, the receiver, the quarterback had runs or receptions of 0 yards or negative yards. So pretty big total there. 24 pressures, 6 sacks, 4 pass defenses, 1 pick, and 1 forced fumble. There is some arm length concerns, 29 and 7/8 inch arms. You'd like to have plus 30-inch arms to kind of clog your passing lanes. However, he's a pretty fluid athlete. Speed is not an issue for him. He comes down very quickly. He flips the hips well in coverage. If you want to use him as a blitzer, which at times Saleh does, he has that natural leverage with his 6'1" frame. He also is a really steady tackler despite having short arms. He really can't wrap up. However, only a 7.6% missed tackle rate. Very, very low for a linebacker of his size and stature. Again, he will miss some tackles. There's some diagnostic issues here or there, but overall, you have him as your linebacker 3 to begin the year, and you kind of believe he'll become your linebacker 2 at the end of the season next to Fred Warner and D. Winters. But Chris Paul is really good in coverage at Ole Miss. He has the instincts. He's a high IQ player. And it's a guy that you just say, look, whether it's zone coverage or man coverage, he can play for you. And the pro comp I've seen for him over and over and over again, and I really believe it, is Quan Alexander, who was a darn good football player in San Francisco in 2019. One of the leading factors as to why Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw were the linebackers they have become, which are really, really, really good players. Fred's probably on a Hall of Fame trajectory, and Greenlaw is, albeit a couple steps behind him, a really good player in his own right. That was painful to see leave. Go get your high energy Quan Alexander type of guy and have him play next to Fred and kind of becoming, hopefully, a linebacker to a youthful injection at linebacker who can stay healthy for you, who's good in coverage, has quick hips, and is good in coverage. So I'm going to go Chris Paul here at pick 100. It's good value for them. I like this pick a lot. And now we have to wait a little bit of time until San Francisco's next pick at pick 113. And again, our picks thus far have been, as you can see on YouTube, edge rusher Micah Williams, Darius Alexander, defensive lineman from Toledo at pick 43, Charles Grant, offensive lineman at pick 75, and Chris Paul at pick 100. Defense and trenches is the name of the game for San Francisco thus far. And if you are the 49ers, do you begin to have the running back conversation here if you are Kyle Shanahan at pick 113? I think it begins here. You can go Bayshell Tootin, you can go Jordan James, you can go my favorite, DJ Giddens. Maybe you go Brashard Smith. All those guys I think are going to be on the table for them at pick 113. Maybe you say, hey, we didn't get a tight end. We like Mitchell Evans, who was hurt last year at Notre Dame, but when he's healthy, he's a contested catch guy. He can be a receiving threat for us behind George Kittle. Knowing the contract may become a problem, which I don't think it should, but you never know at the NFL. Don't tell Dinah Rossini that. It'll be a report tomorrow, but I kid. But that said, you can begin to have the conversation of, okay, do you want a receiver? Do you want Tez Johnson? Do you want Jalen Lane? Do you value Pat Bryant, Isaac Tesla, who has seen his draft stock skyrocket the last 2 weeks or so? Do you want to go Elijah Badger? Do you value Nick Nash? There's plenty of players here. I think San Francisco could value mainly Pat Bryant, who is a true X receiver in this year's class. Do you want to go cornerback? Jacob Parrish isn't there from Kansas State, but Denzel Burke is there. Dorian Strong is there. Alexander's there. Kobe Bryant's on the board. Upton Stout is there from Western Kentucky. There are a lot of players San Francisco, again, could value here at pick 113. However, I think it might be worth to travel back down the edge rusher and defensive tackle route. And I'm going to be, again, not conflicted, because obviously for San Francisco, you value the edge rushing room. You value the ability to go attack the quarterback. You can really pitch me on David Walker here from Central Arkansas. San Francisco picks at pick 138. Maybe you value a trade back here. I don't see any trade back options. You can trade back and get 124, 159, but again, you're moving back, 11 spots. Is that really something you want to do? I'm not sure. Again, you'd probably lose out on one of those guys you like a lot. I think San Francisco could very easily value a player like David Walker from Central Arkansas. I think somebody that's kind of gotten more hype as of recently, but really been underrated in his time in this draft process. He's a very small player. He's 6'2", 260 pounds. At the ideal weight, you want him to be around 280 to 275, probably at his most. But at Arkansas last year, a 92 pass rushing grade, a 92 run defense grade, 59 pressures, 12 sacks, 37 sacks over the last 3 seasons, a 21.6 pass rush win rate, played over 1,300 snaps the last 2 seasons. So he's proven his height gives him natural leverage over offensive tackles. He has the swipes, the shoulder dips. He has rip moves, which are top of the charts in this year's class. The power is a work in progress. Again, he's 6'2", 260. If he's 6'2", 275, maybe there's some power to be unlocked there for David Walker. Again, he's an FCS guy, so did he play against top-end talent? It could be a no, it can be yes. We don't really know. But he has really fluid hips. He'll chase down mobile quarterbacks that are running around in the pocket, trying to evade pressure. You can tell that when he played opposing teams, they knew that of the Central Arkansas defenders, that guy is going to the NFL. They were double teaming him, running plays away from him, and somehow he still produced at the collegiate level. The run defense, again, is a work in progress. The ability to stack and shed his tackles is hard because, again, he's shorter guy, shorter arms, a 31 and 7/8 inch arms. You're not going to have the ability to stack and shed to tackle players well. But again, David Walker gives you an explosive edge rusher that can be a pretty good passing down player for you on day one, or be that third or fourth edge rusher if you like players like Beal Jr. or Sam O. So if you get Micah Williams and you have Sam O and Nick Bosa, David Walker as your fourth guy really isn't a bad gig for him at all and could be a good place for him. You can also bring in Vernon Broughton, defensive tackle from Texas. Drafted him a ton of times thus far. He's a pass rusher through and through. I think there is a value to both of these players. And I want to ask you, if you're sitting here at pick, 113, or you're sitting here at pick 113, we have pick 138 left in round 4. Do you go David Walker, get the explosive edge rusher, who's probably the best edge rusher on the board here for a while? Or do you get the defensive tackle you need to play on the interior to rush the passer? This is where I get conflicted at a certain point. Maybe you want to swing a trade. Maybe you can talk to a team, let's say like the Titans or the Broncos, that you can maybe jump back up to pick 122. I don't think that's a bad thing. We can try to create a trade here with the Broncos and let's see what they would do with it. Let's give them a call and let's see how they feel about that, because I think you're going to see some of these top tier guys go, and you may say, I don't want to miss out on those guys. I wouldn't mind tossing in, pick 138 and giving them 160, or you pick, 160, then getting back, let's say, pick 191, or pick, 166 and tossing in more. I wouldn't mind that at all. Actually, I think actually a pretty good idea. I think we'll try to do that, and let's see what they can say. Hopefully, the drop-off isn't too far, but let's propose this and let's see. It's rejected. Of course it is. That's how things work. Let's try again, though, and let's see what we can do with the Broncos here. I think I want that pick simply because you want to get as much defensive tackle help as you can. We're going to offer pick 138 again. We're going to ask for pick 197 back and 160. And we'll just toss in a 7th rounder next year and make it easy and say thank you. And we got that trade done. So now we have picks 113. And we now also have pick 122 and 147 and 197. So we made some moves there. And I think the deal we're going to do here is we're going to take David Walker, edge rusher from Central Arkansas, and hope our guys are still on the board next as we wait and see. And bang, boom, John Lynch, we are getting the job done for the San Francisco 49ers here. We got pick 122. I think clear as day. We could go Vernon Broughton, defensive tackle. We could also go running back. What do you guys think? Vernon Broughton is a 133 or 131 on the board here. DJ Giddens is 133. I wouldn't mind getting either one of those players. San Francisco tends to be a little overzealous here. I think round 4 into round 5 may be where they're most active making trades. You can maybe call a team like Pittsburgh Steelers or call a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars, try to get a pick again here. But I think the pick we need to go, because we have to replenish the defensive tackle room, I think that belongs to Vernon Broughton out of Texas. Give me our boy out of Texas. Bashal Tootin goes, Damian Martinez goes, and now we're at a conundrum because pick 126 is here. We can call a team, try to move back up and swing a trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars. If we give them pick 126 and we offer them 147, they ain't budging. They don't want much there. We'll have to survive, and let's hope one of our top guys we like are still on the board. They're still there on the board as well. Baltimore's back on the board here at pick 129. The Lions go, the Saints go, the Bills go, the Chiefs go, and Philadelphia is on the board here at pick 134. We're probably not going to be able to get what we want here. However, they have a ton of picks back to back to back. I wouldn't love that for a trade for San Francisco, but Baltimore's now on the prowl for a pick, if you will. Again, it's tough because so many of these teams are hoarding these day 3, day 4 picks. Jeffrey Bassa goes to the Baltimore Ravens. Jordan James, running back, goes to the Dallas Cowboys. Things are getting kind of sticky here. I may want to call for pick 138, probably not going to get much via the way of this pick. But again, you can get pick 138, trade away 147 and 197 for pick 138 and 208. I'll propose this and let's see. It's rejected. Of course it was. We love the way things work in this mock draft. But let's call the Vikings. This is a good, I think, thing for us because we can get pick 147. We can offer 197. Or we can give them 227 or do something like that. They're going to want some picks to move up. Maybe you can give them a draft pick next year. Maybe you can give them a 6th-rounder here or there. I think it's a good spot to move up. They only have 2 picks left. You want to give them an extra pick here or there. I think it could wow them. Let's see what we can do, though. The Vikings pick DJ Giddens. That's what I was going to pick. At this point in time, we'll wait and see what happens at pick 147. It's a good way to pivot because I think there's a clear answer here for San Francisco. You got pick 147. You got pick 197. Again, a big gap in between. If you're San Francisco and you're Kyle Shanahan, you're sitting there pissed. You're angry. I didn't get DJ Giddens. That was my running back. I got to get my guy on the board. You try to make trades. It couldn't come to fruition. How do you pivot? I think San Francisco easily pivots to running back Brashard Smith, 5'10", 195 pounds, 87 run grade, a 90.8 receiving grade. Although I'd rather have DJ Giddens from Kansas State, took him in last week's draft. Brashard Smith is a pretty good player. As a rusher, over 1,300 yards at Kansas. At SMU, 14 touchdowns, 55 missed tackles forced at SMU, 36 runs for 10-plus yards. He is a receiver convert to running back, so there is some growth that needs to be had at the running back position. He's not going to be a third down back. He is a bit of hit or miss here or there, but again, if you walk into this year with your third down back overall, I think you are going to find a nice receiving back to hope Shanahan can grow into and grow with as the years progress. So we're going to pick Brashard Smith here, or we could get a little crazy and we can pick Kobe Bryant, and maybe we can utilize the like Shanahan has for Jadon Blue. Maybe some better value there, actually. We're actually going to pivot here. And we're going to go Kobe Bryant out of Kansas simply because Kobe Bryant is one of my favorite prospects in this draft. Again, he's tiny, he's very thin, but he is a crap talker. I've talked about him so many times. I think I've taken him almost every single mock draft I've done. He has killer instinct. He's a pesky player. He wants to tackle. He is sticky in man coverage. He wants to get things done. So we will tell Kyle Shanahan, table your running back conversation, Kyle. We'll get you your boy later. Let's get Kobe Bryant from Kansas at pick 157 and hope and pray one of the guys Shanahan likes are on the board still at pick 197. And I think we're at a pretty good spot to tell you guys, if you want to get yourself a can of, in my opinion, the best energy drink on the market, that being Goat Fuel, you can use our link down below and grab yourself a can. 12 cans, 8 cans, that's your choice. But again, you can save 10% off your purchase at goatfuel.com using our link down below. I love it so much. I drank every can myself nearly on day one. I said, oh my God, my heart may stop because I love Goat Fuel so much. It's great stuff. So use my link down below and get yourself a can. That way we can both share in the experience together on draft weekend, chugging and pounding Goat Fuel. How else would you want to spend your draft weekend? Jerry Rice on the can and you chugging it yourself, going berserk as San Francisco makes each and every one of their picks. And that brings us to pick 197. We have 4 picks remaining. We have made one trade that they went with the Denver Broncos, and now we're here at pick 197. Didn't get the running back that we loved, but overall the picks so far are pretty good. Micah Williams, Darius Alexander, Charles Grant, Chris Paul Jr., David Walker, Vernon Broughton, Kobe Bryant, 2 edge rushers, 2 defensive tackles, 1 offensive lineman, 1 linebacker, 1 cornerback. think we're doing a pretty darn good job thus far, if I could say so myself. I don't think there's really anybody worth drafting here at wide receiver or tight end. Maybe you can get into the safety positions, but again, I don't really value it that much. Nor do I really think San Francisco needs a safety. Richie Grant, Jason Pinnock were signed. You have Jair Brown. You have George Odom. You have Malik Mustafa. Do you really need 6 safeties on your roster? I don't think so. So I think San Francisco either targets a tackle. Maybe they want to go defensive line again. You really like Cam Jackson from Florida. You can get into a conversation maybe about Johnny Walker later on around 7, even a Kyman Rucker from North Carolina. But I think the play here is to go with running back. And I'll kind of offer you this question because you could go Jadon Blue, who I'm not the biggest fan of. He is a Brashard Smith light player, if you will, better receiver than running back. He has the home run hitting ability out of the backfield on sweeps and on screens. You hope one day can be a number 2 back at the NFL level, or maybe that primary receiver running back for you when you have Garendo and you have Blue and you have McCaffrey out of the backfield. The problem with him, to me, is the fumbling issues are terrifying. I think there is some serious concern with Jadon Blue, who fumbled the football 5 times last year at Texas. That's a concern. And I've seen so many people talk about how he's this and he's that, and he can do so much for you. And those people are right. Jadon Blue can be a really special home run hitter for you at the NFL level. However, I have seen too many times Kyle be fickle and bench players for fumbling. And Matt Breida being the biggest case of that, where you can be a starter, but as soon as you start coughing that ball up, it's a no-no, and you're not going to play much. And I do have concerns of Jadon Blue having a fumbling problem, and that being a red flag for me and Kyle Shanahan. They talked to him during top 30 visits and the Senior Bowl. However, I just am leery of what Jadon Blue can do, despite the great he can do for you as a wide receiver. There also is Ollie Gordon II. Ollie Gordon II is a very perplexing player for the San Francisco 49ers. Had it been last year's draft and you're debating over Garendo and Gordon II, I think many people would say take Ollie Gordon II. 6'1", 220 pounds. He can give you that power pushing back. Last year at Oklahoma State, 862 yards, 621 after contact, 41 missed tackles forced, 12 rushing touchdowns, 20 runs of 10-plus yards. Again, if this was last year's draft, 2023, and he was walking into 2024 draft, we're having an entirely different conversation. We're having he's a day 2 pick locked in. He may sneak into the first round, is how good he was at Oklahoma State. But I don't know if that was because they changed their offensive scheme, got away from the wide zone running scheme, or his body's wearing down already because he was slow, he lacked vision, there was no burst, and there really is this boomer bust, take a risk, if you will, on Ollie Gordon II that Shanahan could like, but also, again, could be scary. So if you are fixated on the running back position here, there really isn't many bona fide guaranteed options at pick 197. However, there's a lot of, you have all these incredible traits and these abilities, but you're not very consistent. You can even get into the conversation about Devin Neal from Kansas. He had 1,200 yards last year, 821 after contact, 46 missed tackles forced, 16 rushing touchdowns, 37 runs of 10-plus yards. He's a high IQ player who has excellent vision. The long speed isn't great, and he's not going to get to the corner consistent, but it's there where there will be splashes of okay, that's an NFL caliber back. He doesn't have any anchor and pass protection. He's not going to be a power back for you, but he is your kind of Rachaad White style back. He can be a good receiver. He can be decisive. He has good vision. He knows where to go. He's a 3-year starter, more proven than often or than most. at the collegiate level when they come out. So again, you have your pick of the litter here. I'm going to avoid Jadon Blue for the sake of me being scared. I'm going to kind of utilize this pick as a what I would do, although try to pick who I think Kyle would like. And I'm down to Ollie Gordon II and Devin Neal from Kansas. I think the drawbacks of Ollie Gordon and what he can be are too big. So I'm going to go Devin Neal. He's a good receiver, good vision. Not the fastest guy, but overall, you got Garendo. I think Devin Neal's a good pick for San Francisco here. And we're going to have to sit back and wait until pick 227 in round 7 and make 3 7-round picks for the San Francisco 49ers this year in this year's mock draft. As you can see, Jadon Blue is still there. Taj Brooks is still there. In San Francisco, Woody Marks is still there. They're in a good place when it comes to, if they want to, drafting 2 running backs on the board. That said, I think if you're the 49ers, you don't need a quarterback. I think you look at Jalen Conyers, and this is, again, what they would do, what I think they could do in this year's draft. Took him in last week's mock draft. Going to take him again here at pick 227. They want a tight end. You can wait until day 3. I think he's a good enough player to take. He's not going to give you, this explosive player, but he has good enough hands. There is a good player, a better player in Jalen Conyers somewhere. I think as your tight end 3 on year 1, he's a good enough blocker, a good enough pass protector, good enough run blocker to get on the field at times, be a special teamer for you, and grow behind George Kittle. So we're going to go Jalen Conyers here and kind of give San Francisco one of their guys on day 3 in one of our first of 3 7-round picks. The board continues to fall San Francisco's way. And again, you could go offensive lineman. Maybe you want to draft a receiver here. You can go maybe Caden Prather. The Niners actually had some interest in Kanata Mumfield from Pittsburgh. That's the route you can go. Again, there really isn't anybody jumping out to me on the defensive side of things for San Francisco. Maybe you want to go Ahmed Hassan, or I think it's Hassanine. Forgive me, but actually a really good player from Boise State. Probably not going to be on the board here, so you have to forgive the simulator, but I think that may be the pick here because he's a darn good football player out of Boise State. You already got your linebacker and Chris Paul from Ole Miss, but I do want to talk about Ahmed. I think it's Hassanine. He's 6'3", 271 pounds, grew up in Egypt. He was a CrossFit athlete in high school. He was also a boxer and a wrestler, so there is that feistiness in his background. He had 63 total pressures and 10 sacks this year at Boise State, had a 15.8 pass rush win rate, and an 83.3 run defense grade. He's built like a 4-3 line defensive end. He's a strong player, has natural leverage, and I think he's a player that is a high floor player. You can bank on being a rotational piece for you. So we're going to go Ahmed Hassanine from Boise State here with our second 7th round pick. Get another defensive lineman in that group. And of course here, you already got Charles Grant. Why don't you end things with one of the better offensive linemen in this year's class when it comes to not giving up sacks? I think there was over 1,000 snaps and 0 sacks allowed from Esapole from Washington State. Phenomenal player. Again, 7th round pick. What do you have to lose? Get a proven piece at the collegiate level. And if you want to draft or you want to pay Brock Purdy, go and protect him. Insulate your room, protect yourself. Charles Grant can be a guard if you need him to, and Esapole can push some of your tackles. I think this is not a perfect draft when you want to talk about directions they can go in the NFL draft this year. It's a pretty good overall of what I think we could see this weekend. Micah Williams goes number 11. I think that's a pretty much a guarantee at this point, unless John Lynch is simply just lying to us. All the hints point to Micah Williams being the pick. at number 11. You can certainly take Walter Nolan there, and I would not balk at that because you can always go Landon Jackson or JT Tuimoloau in round 2, and I would say that's a great pick for you. But I think they're leaning towards Michael Williams. Darius Alexander, pick 43 from Toledo. Heck of a player. He can be a starter for you on day one. It's a deep defensive line class. Get Darius Alexander in that room and let him just run through offensive linemen. Then go and get your backup tackle, who you hope can be maybe a guard or a future starter for you at tackle in the next year or so with Charles Grant. Then get your Dre Greenlaw replacement, quote unquote, and Chris Paul Jr. at pick 100. Then you're going to make a trade for David Walker in Central Arkansas. You're going to make the pick at 113, then make another trade, or your first trade, for Vernon Broughton, defensive lineman from Texas. So really kind of shoring up your defensive line here, getting Michael, who can play the inside and outside. Alexander can play the inside. David Walker is your smaller kind of pass rush specialist as an edge rusher. Vernon Broughton becomes your pass rushing interior guy from Texas. And the next pick is Kobe Bryant, cornerback from Kansas. Then you acquire Devin Neal in that trade where you traded away pick 138, 160, and next year's 7th round pick for 122, 197. Get you a running back, go back-to-back Kansas Jayhawks, and get Devin Neal, a receiving back that has really good vision and is a 3-year starter, so a proven player at pick 197. Then in round 7, you get picks 227, 249, and pick 252. Just kind of floor-raising moves for you in the 7th round. Get your tight end 3 in Jalen Conyers. Get your potential 5th edge rusher that you hope can grow into a better player in Ahmed Hassanin from Boise State. A really good prospect who I hope does find his way to San Francisco this weekend. Then Esapol, who just never gives up sacks from Washington State, can be a tackle for you. Austin Peasants is not the guy you hope can be your swing tackle. So again, insulate yourself, get some more depth. Don't mind stashing a few players like Hassanin and Esapol for you in the 7th round. But overall, the Poll pick got an A-, the Hassanin pick got a B, the Conyers pick got a C, Devin Neal got a B, Kobe Bryant got a B, and Vernon Broughton got a B. David Walker gets the best pick of the draft at an A-. Chris Paul gets a C-. That's the worst grade of the draft so far, which they're wrong. Charles Grant gets a B+, and Darius Alexander and Mike Williams get a C+, giving our grade a B-. And if you see this, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 potential starters for you in the future, and some growth to be had at every single player that could obviously fluctuate, but overall, I think a pretty good draft for you if you are the San Francisco 49ers. Again, there's some players you want to get that you can't land. DJ Giddens being my top running back for the San Francisco 49ers in this year's class. But overall, I think it's a good draft that fits what San Francisco could do and wants to do. And overall, I think, again, could be what a lot of these players do end up being in San Francisco by the end of the weekend. Watch out for players like Jacob Parrish, again, DJ Giddens, Jadon Blue. And I think, again, San Francisco has to nail these picks, and I believe we nailed these pretty well. If San Francisco walks away with a B- or a B+ or even a B grade in their draft process with the picks we made, San Francisco's adding in this mock draft, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players with the 11 picks they had. And look, the more depth you get, the better players you can have on your roster, and hopefully the more growth you can have to hopefully find some diamonds in the rough. And it's really good to have, again, in rounds, what is this, 4 and 5, A-, B, B, and a B grade. So that's where San Francisco makes their bread and makes their money and finds their milk and honey, if you will. Dre Greenlaw, DJ Jones, George Kittle, they got to hit on those picks, and I think they view the rounds 3 through 5 as their money round, and we hit pretty well on those picks here for the San Francisco 49ers. But tell me down below, is there a prospect you believe San Francisco needs to target with one of their picks, either on day 1, 2, or 3? Did I miss somebody you wanted us to take? Did I take somebody you were like, Sterling, there's no way I want the Niners to draft that person in this year's draft? Tell me down below in the comments. Don't forget to follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. Go ahead and use that promo code 49ersaccess, 49ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. And go ahead and get yourself a can of goat fuel using our link down below and save yourself 10% off your purchase with our link in the description, and pound away the goat fuel during the 2025 NFL Draft. And think of us while you're doing it, because I'll be doing it as well. And if you're looking for live reactions to day 1 and day 2 picks for your Niners, go to 95.7 The Game, whether on YouTube, the radio, if you are in the California Bay Area, and on the Odyssey app. I will be reacting to each and every pick of the first round, second round, and third round on 95.7 The Game live. Hopefully you can join me there, and obviously come back to this channel when the draft is done for a complete breakdown of the San Francisco 49ers 2025 NFL Draft class. Folks, welcome to Draft Day, and I'm hoping we can ace this puppy like the San Francisco 49ers need to do. But as we patiently and eagerly await what happens tonight and on Friday and on Saturday, I want to tell you one last time, my name is Sterling Bennett. Go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. Give us that 5-star podcast audio review on the audio podcasting channels. And again, good luck to yourself. Don't get too anxious. Don't binge eat if you don't get the guy you like. And my name is Sterling Bennett. And as always, I'll see you soon, but stay faithful.